Hey guys, welcome back. I am Jason, and I think I've seen too many post-apocalyptic movies. So there's a small fear in the back of my mind when I travel far from home that the EMP is going to strike or something's going to go wrong that's going to make me have to be on foot and potentially leave us stranded somewhere and have to walk a long ways home. And is it realistic or is it unrealistic to think that you can walk hundreds of miles with your family back to your home? Maybe, maybe not, depending on the situation. I don't know, but I do think it is important to be prepared, and that's why I have a bag such as this one in my truck. So if my primary means of travel should break down for whatever reason, I can at least carry some of the supplies that I should need. Now, I get it's going to be tough. A lot of you out there watching this video are going to be like, okay, if you've got to bug out with your family, your truck breaks down, and you got to walk hundreds of miles, you're going to die. Okay, maybe. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not true. But you're not just going to lay down and give up because your truck broke down. You're going to do everything you possibly can, and hopefully you've got most of the supplies that you should need to make that travel possible. Now, I'm no perfect survivalist, no perfect prepper, so my bag fluctuates. You know, I'm in it, I'm out of it. Some people have the philosophy of like, pack your pack and then never touch it. Don't ever go in it. And I just don't do that because I use all the stuff that's in my pack on a regular basis. It's what I use when I go camping. It's stuff that I've actually tried and it's gone through the abuses, and I know that it's going to work. And I think that that's a good philosophy, just a different philosophy. So, but the problem with that is that the bag oftentimes has things that have been taken out and not replaced and all of that. And then that's okay too. So this is good that I'm doing this video because this is you and me going through this together, and we can figure out what I actually need to have in here. So if my truck was to break down right here and I've got a long ways to go with the family, what kind of things would I put in my pack? And this is a big pack, and it generally doesn't have a whole lot in it. And that's on purpose so I can add items for my family, more food, more supplies, whatever it may be, bigger shelters, extra sleeping bags, warming layers, all of that stuff. So in this Ziploc bag and this dry bag here, this is actually a down poofy jacket, really lightweight down poofy jacket, an extra insulating layer that's really warm, and I like to carry this one because it weighs almost nothing. Keeping it dry is important though. If it should rain on us and you've got this thing on your back, you don't want your dry layers getting wet. So here's extra long johns, long john pants, and a top, merino wool. Big fan of that. So you've got dry layers to put on. If you should be soaked with sweat or rain or whatever, you've got something you can put on so when you go to bed at night, you've got a dry layer. Extra t-shirt in there, several pairs of wool socks, and some hot hands, which is nice. This is a sleeping bag, a down sleeping bag that's only rated to about 50 degrees. And in the summertime, most places that you go, it's sufficient. Here, you can see the snow on the mountains behind me. It gets chilly here at night. I'd say it was probably in the 40s last night, and this would have been a little bit cool. So I've got other sleeping bags, I've got other warming layers in the truck that I could throw in this bag, and I'll show you that stuff in just a bit. This is my sleeping pad. It's an inflatable sleep pad that's really, really comfortable, and you inflate it with this bag right here. And this bag can also be used as another dry bag. So if I've got to put, you know, another sleeping bag in here for the kids or whatever, I can shove it down in this inflator bag, like, you know, that, roll up the top, and it's like a roll top dry bag. So that works really well for that. It's kind of multi-purpose in that way. Freeze-dried meals are the way to go for backpacking, in my opinion. It's just the easiest, it's the simplest, the less mess, no fuss. You tear open the thing, you pour in the boiling water, zip it up, let it cook for a bit, and then eat it. And then it's just the simplest way to go. They're really lightweight, but they are fairly expensive, so there's other alternatives to these. This is a SOL Escape Bivy. This is one of the breathable ones, and I actually like this. It's really lightweight. They're not super durable. This is actually what it's made out of, this material that the bag is. And it's got this Mylar layer on the inside, so it will reflect some of your body heat back to you. This, in addition to this, will give me that probably extra 10, maybe even more degrees that I should need. So if this is a 50-degree bag, putting these together will get me down to 40 degrees comfortably. Plus it's water resistant. I wouldn't say it's waterproof, but a light rain, you could lay out in the light rain and not get wet in this, which is nice. Oh, I forgot about this. This would be a treasure. If you were on the trail hiking all day and you were starving, a payday. This is my go-to as far as junk food goes on the trail. Just an emergency ration. If you're low on calories and just feeling like crap, this will really give you a boost. And I like the paydays because they don't melt in hot temperatures. They get soft, but it doesn't melt like chocolates and stuff like that. So this is my go-to junk food. Wet wipes. I'm a huge fan of wet wipes. If you're, not able to take a shower, not able to bathe, if you've got creeks and stuff, you can do a bird bath kind of deal, even if it's cold. But if you can't, and water is precious in a lot of places that we're traveling in the deserts, and you can't be using your water supplies to clean yourself, and hygiene is super important. If you don't take care of yourself as far as cleanliness, you can get into some serious troubles with chafing and infections and all of that. So wet wipes is a big win. Here's a small first aid kit, a very small one. I've got a much more comprehensive one that I would be putting in this pack that's in my truck. Cordages, basic paracord. Paracord's probably the best, just all around general cordage. There's lots of other things out there, bank lines and fancier, more expensive cordages that I've also got. I've got actually 25 feet of cordage in my 400-pound test cordage in my belt. But this is good stuff that's just general purpose, and it's pretty valuable. Now this is something that definitely needs to be changed if I was to leave this area. I have maps. I've got road maps of the whole United States that I'd be bringing along with me. I would throw that in the pack. I would probably bring this along with me as I get closer to home. Maybe, maybe not. But this is of my general area of where I live, which would be absolutely useless in this area. A small pad of paper. Here's my primary compass, this Suunto right here. This is a really, really good one. This one will help you with navigation if GPSs and all that fancy new technology that we have should fail. This will get you to where you need to go as long as you know how to use it. My boy is eyeballing my payday. And if he just gets a hinkling to take a bite out of it, we're gonna have problems. Here's my saw, my foldable saw. This is something I may or may not choose to keep in here. For gathering firewood purposes, there's nothing better than this. This is the best. It's the most efficient, the safest thing to get firewood. So I may keep it in there if I'm planning on using a fire for warmth and cooking and all of that. But, depending on the situation, it may not be necessary. And it's a little bit of heft, And if you're carrying everything that you need on your back, you need to really be thinking about what you actually need. There's a lot of want to haves, but do you need to have all the things in your bag? A drum liner, garbage bag, a heavy-duty garbage bag. Lots of uses for these. So these are pretty handy. 1 or 2 of these in your pack is going to be something that would be nice to have for sure. I don't believe in making things pretty for videos. This is real life. This is what my truck looks like right now on a long adventure with the family. So this is the girls' side. I've got 3 ladies with me on this trip. And this whole compartment is all their clothes and stuff. So what I would go through, I would have a pack for each of them. We do. Everybody in the family has a pack. And each person would be responsible for carrying their own clothing, their own shelter, and I would probably take care of all the bigger items like big tarps and stuff like that, which I have in the truck. So we would get extra clothing, durable clothing, hopefully lightweight clothing, but extra clothing, especially socks, comfortable shoes, all of that. We would make sure that we have all that packed. And if it won't fit in their small packs because they're little and they can't carry a lot, it would go in my pack and I would just have to carry more and more and more. Yes, I get it. It's not ideal and it will be cumbersome and it'll be slow and tedious, and especially depending on the terrain, it would be, could be really, really difficult, but you have to carry what you have to carry, and you can always ditch stuff along the way if you decide that it's not worth it. So extra clothes for the kids is a big one, especially socks, comfortable shoes, insulating tops and bottoms. I always recommend 3 layers, regardless of the climate, because the weather can change, especially in the mountains. Always 3 layers, some sort of insulating, especially wool. If you've got wool, that's the best base layer that you can have. And then on top of that, some sort of insulating layer. And then on top of that, something that could protect you from precipitation. Holy cow. So here's the thing. Organization for myself and organization for my wife are very different.
That is the biggest lie. I am very organized.
I'm not saying you're not organized. I'm just saying that it's different in the way that we organize things. So personally, if I'm putting something like tools in one of the compartments so I could work on the truck, I wouldn't put coffee,
I
perhaps.
thought he would need some energy while he's working on things.
So you know, I just wouldn't. I wouldn't put that there, but that's just me. So I think it's an excellent form of organization. It's just not my personal way of doing it. Anyway, all the tools and stuff that I would need for the truck is going to be useless for me if I'm on foot. I'm not going to take hardly any of this stuff. I mean, like a multi-tool in my pocket, perhaps. This is my favorite day pack right here. This is a Tarahumara from Hill People Gear. I like this day pack a lot. It's just the smallest, minimalist, and one of my kids could carry this pack, and I could fill this thing full of all of their supplies. And that's what we would do actually here. Here's another small drawstring pack for the kids that we'd put their supplies in so they could carry their own gear, carry their own weight. So we could do one of two strategies in this situation. Each person has a poncho, and each person in my family could sleep under their own shelter, which is ideal in a lot of situations because it is easier to conceal those shelters. Camouflage poncho could completely disappear over here in this sagebrush, and you'd never know it's there. And each person could have their own small little shelter. Or we could have a big tarp like this one. This is a 10 by 10 tarp that the whole family could get under and be protected out of the elements all together. So this is something that I might bring along with me, at least in the beginning. But if we deem it unnecessary, as much as it would pain me to do so, I could ditch it. Spare batteries, I would definitely bring these for flashlights. Maybe not this many, but these are for our flashlights. Here's a sewing kit that I like. This is Exotech. Exotech makes some really cool stuff, but this is probably my favorite product of theirs. It's their sewing kit. Rip Spool, I think Rip Spool is what it's called. Really heavy gauge needle that you could use to patch all sorts of things from backpacks to clothes, whatever. And then lots of duct tape. And then there's thread, heavy duty thread right here. So you could fix pretty much anything you have. And if you're on the trail for any extended time, especially if you're going cross country in any ways, you're going to catch your clothes on branches and stuff and get holes and things. And if you're limited on clothes, you have to repair them. Like I said before, everybody's got their own pack, but we've also got extras, larger ones, heavier duty ones, so we can have options. I think options are important. Water is a big one depending on where you are. How much water can you carry? You can only carry so much water. If I was in the middle of the desert somewhere, this might be all that I would bring, just a 5-gallon can of water. That might be it. I don't know, but let's assume that we've got ways that we can, water sources that we can replenish our water supply. I would definitely be bringing along water filters, and I've got a couple of different options for that. Everything from this Sawyer Mini here that I just keep in the package. I don't use this one except in emergency situations, so it just stays in the package, stays dry. That way it doesn't freeze and damage it and all that stuff. So the Sawyer Mini, and I've also got two Grail water filters. One of the smaller ones that I like to keep in my just small day pack, and then this bigger one here. So if we could find any water sources at all, we'd be able to purify it with something like this. Obviously, we could start fires and boil it and all that kind of stuff. I've got stoves that I would probably bring. This is I wouldn't bring a cast iron skillet. As much as it would pain me to leave this behind, this old cast iron skillet, I would not bring that. So that would go aside. This cook pot is something I would bring. So everybody in my family has a canteen cup, a metal canteen cup. So if worst comes to worst, that's all we've got. We could still boil our water and make it safe to drink. But I would bring a bigger pot like this so we could cook our food and stuff in it and boil a little bit more water at a time. A camp stove is a good option, and I would definitely do that depending on the situation. Let's say, times were desperate and people were getting weird and angry at life. This would be a much better option. As far as staying under the radar. Having a campfire is pretty obvious, especially at night, stands out really a lot. So I would bring a couple of canisters of fuel. These bigger ones are nice because they last a long time. So one of these, as long as you're diligent about only turning it on and turning it off quickly when your water's done boiling, these last a long, long time. So I'd probably bring one of these and my stove. And there's ways of concealing fires like a Dakota fire hole and stuff. Again, not ideal, but if you had to, you could conceal a fire. I could tuck a fire in that sagebrush over there. And the only thing that you would see, as long as I was burning really dry stuff, the only thing you might be able to see if you were in an elevated position is maybe a little bit of smoke, but probably not. Freeze-dried dehydrated meals such as Mountain House or this one from Nutrient Survival are really good because they're lightweight and they're easy to prepare. And you're going to carry as much as you possibly can, because I know from experience that collecting foods on the go when you're on foot, wild foods, is tough. And if you're trying to feed a family while you're on the go, it's going to be pretty sad. So even if you've got a firearm, you've got modern tool fishing equipment, which I do have. I have fishing supplies and things like that where we could potentially catch fish. It's still going to be slim pickings. And if you're burning through calories trying to get from point A to point B, it's going to be really, really challenging. So carry as much food as you possibly can. When it runs out, hopefully you can rely upon friendly people in your area that you can replenish your supplies. Hopefully you've got, like I do, we've got a list of people all over the country that we could potentially stop in and meet up with them, and they can help us out a little bit. And you know, you're working on faith at that point. Having a way to protect yourself, such as a device that uses something like this, is pretty beneficial. And this is the way to carry the extra items, not loosely in a box or anything like that. Carry it like this so it's organized and it's ready to go if you should need it. And I would be rating my truck. I'd go through every nook and cranny for anything useful that I think I might be able to take along with me, such as this key here for water in more urban areas. A radio would be a really big idea, a really good idea to bring along with you. It's a small little pack that I designed, made by P&W Bushcraft. And it's just a drawstring pack, really, really lightweight, extremely minimal. And my daughter's actually been using this as her little day pack. But what you could do, the beauty of this and the reason I designed it is because if it's empty, you can roll the thing up into nothing, and it could just stick in your cargo pocket. It can be in one of the small pockets in your backpack. And then if you need extra space for extra supplies, or you're gathering wild edibles or whatever it is that you're doing, you can have an extra pack right here ready to go. So very simple little pack that we'll definitely bring with us. This is me making some cold, hard decisions on what supplies I would need. And as much as it would pain me to leave my truck behind with a whole bunch of really good stuff in it, there's just only so much you could carry on your back. Having options such as, you know, bicycles and wagons and all of those things, they're all options, yes, of course, but even with a vehicle, you're still limited on space of what you can carry. I mean, how many bicycles can you carry? Can I carry 5 bicycles on top of my truck? Probably, probably. But depending on the terrain that you're in, if you're on, you know, a paved road, then you could use them. Even an electric bicycle would be awesome because you could cover a lot of ground in a really short period of time. But depending on the terrain, again, is it going to be a useful thing for you to carry or not? All decisions that you would need to make for your situation. So I fully understand the difficulty of a mission such as this. If you were to have to abandon your vehicle with your family and have to walk a long, long distance, it's going to be very, very difficult. And I understand that, you know, you could look at a situation like that with doom and gloom, and you could look at a situation like that and think that it's inevitably going to end up in failure. And maybe it will, but I always maintain the hope that we will find a way. We will figure it out. God's looking out for us, and we will persevere through whatever struggles will come our way. And I think that that's the way that you have to live your life in general. If you have the negative outlook on everything around you, that it's not going to work out, and there's no reason in even attempting it, you will fail. But if you have a positive outlook that you will succeed no matter what, your chances are going to be much, much higher. Thanks so much for watching, friends. I really appreciate it. Thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure you're leaving lots of comments for me. I'd really be grateful for that. Can't wait to see you on the next one.
Here with my payday.